Momma Cuisine is about making great everyday meals with simple ingredients and basic cooking techniques, and I want to show you how. Now tell me that this doesn't look like a meal you would find in a restaurant. This show also highlights restaurants, foodies, artisans, and events to help me in my quest in making great everyday meals. So come join me. I'm Johanna Cook of Momma Cuisine. Momma Cuisine is a proud sponsor of the Good Food Festivals coming to Chicago from March 15th through 17th. For more information, visit www.goodfoodfestivals.com. It's finally springtime in Chicago, and everyone is so excited to get out of the house. So I invited a few family and friends over for a brunch. Now, having people over on a lazy Saturday morning may be a bit tough for you as the host, but I have a few simple and elegant recipes to help you pull off a great brunch for your friends. Now we're going to start with an easy recipe for homemade granola. Now this is sure to make you look like a gourmet host. What we have here: 2 cups of steel cut oatmeal. We also have 1/3 of a cup of coconut. We have 2 ounces of crushed pecans, whichever way you want to say it, and 1 tablespoon of ground flax, keeping you and your guests healthy. I also have 1/3 of a cup of dried apricots that I am going to cut. You don't have to be really precise. You just want it in little pieces because the coconut is already in there, which is already a bit sweet. Just adding a little bit of dried apricots will give it also a nice texture, that chewiness against that crispy baked oatmeal, or oats, not oatmeal. Okay, let's see here. Put 1/3 of a cup of dried apricots. You could also use dried cranberries if you like. That would be really good, especially during the fall season. And we have here 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Let's put that right over. Make sure you get all of that. And for a little extra sweetness, I have agave nectar. Now we're just gonna put 2 tablespoons. I'm just gonna eyeball it. 1, 2. You could use brown sugar if you'd like, honey. There's some really great local honey out there. Using agave nectar for this recipe. You just wanna mix it well. Heat your oven to 350 degrees while you're mixing your granola, and that way it's nice and hot and ready for you. Just mix that up. Make sure everything, every single oat and apricot is coated with that butter and agave nectar. That butter will really give it its nice golden brown color as it browns in the oven. That's perfect. All you want to do now is lay it on a cookie sheet, very thin. Make sure you spread it out and put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes. Keeping an eye on it, make sure it turns out a perfect golden brown. And now you have, after 12 to 15 minutes in the oven, this amazing homemade granola. It is that simple to make at home. And imagine how much money you will save making this for yourself instead of buying it out of a box. Awesome. Now all you have to do is bring out a little bit of yogurt, some fresh berries, and everyone could make their own yogurt parfaits at your brunch. So you could just set that aside. We have a little bit more to make. Now the next thing I'm gonna make for our brunch is a chili brown sugar rubbed bacon. My second batch, we had our first batch already going and ready. Now I took the thick sliced bacon, applewood smoked, and all you have to do is take 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1/3 of a cup of chili powder. and mix it together in a bowl with just a fork. And what you're gonna do is take your thick sliced bacon. All you have to do is take your thick sliced bacon and rub this chili powder and brown sugar mixture on your bacon. 1/3 of a cup of chili powder, that's all you need. If you're a rub connoisseur, I'm sure you could think of some other great things to put in here, but just to keep it simple, easy, and it turns out a pretty great special bacon for your guests. We're gonna pop this in the oven, 350 degrees, so just keep it the same temperature as you did your granola. And again, we're gonna keep it there for about 15 minutes, okay? Put that in here. And now we're gonna start working on our very simple garden vegetable omelet. Now all it is a little bit of garlic, tomatoes, onions, sauteing it, putting it in your omelet. I mean, this is a hit in my house. Every single Sunday we have this. And what makes it different for this recipe is I'm gonna top it with a little sour cream and arugula, and it makes it a little bit fancier. So let's go ahead and start with the onions. Cut an onion. Now you could certainly make this individual or just make a bigger omelet. It's kind of nice to make it as your guests come, as usually brunches is kind of an open house type thing. People come in early, leave an hour later, your next group of guests come in after they do. So it's kind of nice just to keep it simple for yourself, and that way while you're entertaining, it's as stress-free as possible for you. The simpler your recipes are, the better time you'll have while you're entertaining your guests. So we're gonna cut here, this is a pretty big onion, so we'll just need half of this. We're gonna slice these thinly. And this should be good for about 4 eggs. Now I don't have a garden, but for those of you who are gardeners, I'm sure you have lots of great stuff to put in your garden veggie omelet. Zucchini, especially when it's in season. All right, fresh garlic. Just mince these, slice them. I don't think I need 2. We don't want it too garlicky. Okay. Drizzle a couple tablespoons of olive oil here, 1 and 2. And we're gonna do about half of that onion that we sliced. Then we put the garlic on top. It's nice to put the garlic after the onion so that your garlic doesn't burn. Turn this up a little bit. And what a simple recipe. You could sure add, like I said, zucchini. Mushrooms would be great with this. Eggplant. So now let's add our tomatoes. Now this is going to break down and create a nice sauce. So simple. And just let it do its thing there. 4 eggs. Lightly beat it. I'm going to cut just a little bit of parsley, add some freshness to it, contrast of color with the green. Instead of putting the egg over it, I actually put this in the egg. May not be what you're used to doing, but this is how I learned how to make this omelet. And it turns out pretty good. So we're just going to add it in to that beaten egg, more olive oil. Spread that love around. Then we're going to bring this back. Put it back in. And now we're just going to let this work. Let it get round around the edges. Turn the heat up just a little bit. It really kind of turns out more frittata-like than an omelet. And you just want to get your spatula and kind of run it around the edges, pulling it back. Now, with a frittata, you would put this in an oven-safe pan and put it in the oven and let it finish cooking in there. And with an omelet, it's on the stovetop. There's just a small difference. At home, what we would do is slide this on a plate and flip it over. That's kind of a quick, like a shortcut frittata, I guess. And maybe I just might be feeling adventurous and do that. Now you'll see with your spatula, if you kind of try and pull it back, you'll see that it's starting to brown on the other side, which is exactly what you want. That's nice. So I'll show you how I do it at home. I take a plate. It's important to have a nonstick pan for this. I slide my egg on it. Ooh, and real quickly, I flip. It may take a couple practices, or maybe you just want to stick this in the oven and let it finish cooking through. But it's pretty easy. And you just let your omelet cook on the other side, and you kind of have an open-faced omelet as opposed to the folded. So now our garden veggie omelet smells really good, and I think it's done. I'm just going to slide it back on the plate here. Look how delicious that looks. Slide it over a little bit. Very nice, simple, inexpensive. Now what we're gonna do to fancy this up, like I said, is we got a little sour cream. Now, there's a sour cream here. What I'm gonna do is just get a dollop of this. Now wait until your guests come in to do this, okay? So that sour cream doesn't melt all over the place. Just get a dollop of sour cream. It's kind of a replacement of the cheese, right? When you do a cheese omelet. Dollop it on top. Have some arugula. I love using arugula because I think it just, the peppery and it just looks, and that's what you serve. That's our second meal or second menu item for our brunch. We have our granola and our garden vegetable omelet. And lastly, we're still waiting on our bacon. Let me check on that. 15 minutes. Now it's not gonna look as crispy as it would if you did it on the stovetop. There's really no way to fry bacon on a stovetop when it's coated in brown sugar and chili. So it's good to do it in the oven. That's the best way to do it. And you only want it there for about 15 minutes, and it doesn't look like it'll get crispy, but after it comes out, it'll start to harden because of that brown sugar. What we have here is drinks for your guests, and the idea that I had when your guests are over is to do kind of a bar, right? You have your sparkling white wine here, and I have fresh fruit puree. Now I'm going to show you here, we have here strawberries, but we're going to do blueberries as well. And what's nice is with having kids over, with the fresh fruit, you could also have them mix it with some club soda, and they can have their own kind of fizz drink along with the adults. And what's brunch without a little bit of alcohol involved, right? So it's very simple. I'm keeping my nose open for my bacon there. I have 1 pint of fresh blueberries. For the strawberries, this over here was actually a whole pound. Now simple syrup really is just very simple syrup. It's equal parts sugar and water. So for this I did equal parts, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of water. Now what I like, it really depends on how sweet your fruit is, because if it's in season, it's probably going to be much sweeter than it is if it wasn't in season. So you kind of have to gauge the sweetness before adding. So I always like to start with half a cup of that simple syrup. And then from there, I'll give it a try and see if it needs more or less. So for this pint of blueberries, do half a cup of simple syrup. Put that in there. And really, you just puree it. All right, give this a whirl. Start with this. And check out how beautiful that color is. Nice, deep purple. And this would be great to put in the bottom of your drink. And all you would have to do is add your sparkling wine. So it's nice to have this already poured, or maybe have your guests do it themselves and play around with the flavors they'd like, and then pour it right on top. And for the kids, this is perfect. They're getting antioxidants, their vitamins, and adding a little bit of club soda. It's sweet, and they get their own fresh fruit fizz drink. So what I did here was the take on the BLT. I have this whole clamshell of arugula here. What am I gonna do with all that? So I just did it in the bottom, some cherry tomatoes, bacon on top, and people could kind of help themselves. If you have some crusty bread, they can make BLT sandwiches with it. We have our granola here. We have our drink. Let's try and open this sparkling white wine here. This is always kind of tricky, isn't it? But it's always so fun. You can certainly use champagne if you like. Oh. Whoa! The ceiling. You can use champagne if you'd like, but this is also the sparkling white wine. So what you do, make sure that it's super cold. Very, very slowly. Put that there. And you have here a very simple yet elegant brunch for your friends and for your family. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Momma Cuisine. Please, if you want to see any more episodes, visit mommacuisine.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we will see you again next Friday. Thank you so much.